Irigaray's work, An Ethics of Sexual Difference, explores the philosophical, ethical, and cultural implications of sexual difference, offering a radical rethinking of how men and women relate to each other and to the world. The book attempts to establish an ethical framework that acknowledges and respects the irreducible differences between the sexes, challenging traditional metaphysical systems that have historically subordinated women to men or erased sexual difference altogether. Irigaray's argument begins with a critique of the Western philosophical tradition, which she asserts is rooted in phallocentric logic. This tradition, according to Irigaray, privileges sameness over difference, establishing a hierarchical binary in which man is positioned as the universal subject while woman is relegated to the role of the other or the negative of man. In this framework, the feminine is either subsumed into the masculine or defined solely in opposition to it, leaving no space for the recognition of woman as a distinct subject in her own right. Irigaray contends that this erasure of sexual difference has profound ethical consequences, shaping not only how men and women relate to one another, but also how they experience themselves and the world. To address this problem, Irigaray proposes a new ethics based on the recognition and affirmation of sexual difference. Rather than reducing the other to the same relationships based on dominance and submission, she calls for an ethics that honors the irreducible alterity of the other. This requires a fundamental shift in how we think about identity, subjectivity, and relationality. True ethical relationships can only emerge when we acknowledge the other as both different from and equal to ourselves, resisting the temptation to assimilate or dominate them. Unlike traditional metaphysical systems that posit a single universal subject, Irigaray insists on the necessity of thinking in terms of two distinct but interrelated subjects, one male and one female. This dual subject framework allows for the mutual recognition of difference without hierarchy, creating the possibility of relationships that are grounded in reciprocity and respect. The recognition of sexual difference is not merely a matter of social or cultural equality, but a profound ontological and ethical imperative reflecting the fundamental structure of human existence. Irigaray's exploration of sexual difference is deeply informed by her engagement with the works of key Western philosophers, including Plato, Aristotle, Descartes, Kant, Nietzsche, and Heidegger. In her work, she revisits these thinkers to uncover the ways in which their ideas have shaped and perpetuated the erasure of sexual difference. At the same time, she seeks to transform their concepts using them as a starting point for her own philosophical project. For example, she engages with Plato's notion of the ideal and the Nietzsche's idea of becoming to develop a vision of sexual difference that is dynamic and generative rather than static or reductive. Irigaray also addresses the ethical and political implications of sexual difference. She argues that the recognition of sexual difference is essential for the development of a truly just and equitable society. Without this recognition, relationships between men and women are doomed to be marked by domination, exploitation, and misunderstanding. By contrast, an ethics of sexual difference creates the possibility of relationships that are based on mutual respect and reciprocity, fostering a more harmonious and inclusive social order. Irigaray's emphasis on the ethical dimension of sexual difference also has profound implications for the construction of subjectivity. In traditional metaphysical systems, the subject is defined in opposition to the other, leading to a sense of identity that is based on exclusion and negation. Irigaray challenges this model, proposing instead a relational conception of subjectivity in which the self is constituted through its relationship with the other. This relational model allows for the recognition of difference without erasing it, creating space for the coexistence of two distinct but interdependent subjects. Unlike traditional metaphysical systems that privilege the abstract and universal over the concrete and particular, Irigaray insists that sexual difference is rooted in the materiality of the body. This emphasis on embodiment challenges the Cartesian dualism that has dominated Western thought, emphasizing the inseparability of mind and body and the importance of lived experience. For Irigaray, the recognition of sexual difference requires not only a rethinking of philosophical concepts but also a reorientation of how we experience and inhabit our bodies. Irigaray's vision of sexual difference is also deeply tied to her understanding of love and desire. Love is not simply an emotion or a personal relationship, but an ethical practice that requires the recognition and an affirmation of the other's difference. True love is not possessive or assimilative, but relational and transformative, creating space for both self and other to grow and flourish. This understanding of love is closely linked to her critique of traditional metaphysics, which she argues reduces desire to a quest for sameness or possession, erasing the other in the process.